Welcome students. Welcome to the 12th lecture on continuation of module 2 income from salaries of subject direct taxation. So as you'll already know what income from salaries covers and under which lectures we have completed that particular aspect. So moving ahead. Today we will be covering revision on valuation and taxability of perquisites, and we'll be solving problems on perquisites. When we will be solving problem on perquisites, it also will include some few elements of full-fledged problems. Like we will be solving perquisites not individually, but we will be including it in the calculation of gross salary. Some problems are also relating to full-fledged problems. So again, I'm revising the format for computation of income under the head salaries. Quickly, we'll revise this because this format is very important. Once you know this format, you can solve the sum. So basic salary, 100% taxable, fees commission, 100% taxable, bonus, 100% taxable. Allowances, you have three types of allowances. Fully taxable, where 100% amount you need to take in the outer column. Partially taxable, where you need to find out the exemptions and then take the remaining amount in the outer column. And fully exempt, where you need to take nil amount in the outer column. Next, perquisites we have dealt in the last lecture. Perquisites are again divided into fully taxable in case of all the employees, then exempt in case of all the employees, and taxable only in case of specified employees. So depending on that, you need to take the amounts in the outer column, which we will be dealing in today. Next is voluntary retirement compensation. You have exemption, minus the exemption, take the remaining amount in the outer column. Retrenchment compensation, again use the provision, take the exemption, and the remaining taxable amount you're going to keep it in the outer column. Leave travel concession, based on what route he is using and what class of travel he is opting for, you need to take that amount. Next, leave encashment, again you have to apply provisions for this. Gratuity, you need to apply provisions. Uncommuted pension, commuted pension, you need to apply provisions. Provident fund, you need to apply provisions. You get gross salary. Gross salary is a salary before the deductions. Before the deductions, the salary is called gross salary. So in your examination, if they ask you calculate gross salary, you have to finish your sum only up to here. No need to show this deductions. So be very careful in reading the problem that comes in the exam. Next, from this gross salary, you do deductions. There are 3 deductions under the head income from salaries, which is covered under section 16. Standard deduction of rupees 50,000 flat you will get. Entertainment allowance. Entertainment allowance is given only when only this deduction is given to a government employee. Professional tax again is a deduction that is given under section 16. So then once you minus all these deductions from gross salary, you get income from the head salaries. So this is very important, because henceforth, like in the next lecture, we will be using this format and solving and deriving at income from the head salaries. Next. So let us quickly revise perquisites so that once we revise, we can solve the problem. So you know perquisites is nothing but an extra benefit that is given. Okay, and we know there are 3 types of perquisite: taxable or in case of all employees, exempt in case of all employees, taxable in case of specified employee. Okay, then let us quickly see what are the perquisite taxable in case of all the employees. Important ones I'm going to highlight. Okay, rest others you will have to go through, because we never know if they are asked in the exam. But important ones which are frequently asked in the exam, I will be solving problems on those and revising only those. So obligation of the employee discharged by the employer. What does this mean? That it means that when actually the employee is supposed to pay that particular amount, but it is paid by the employer. If any such amount is there, then it will be taxable in case of all the employees. When I say taxable, here the limit is 100% taxable. Next, any sum payable by employer to the effect of life insurance, so whatever actual expenditure has been incurred. If there is any interest-free loan, then that also will be taxable in case of all the employees. Gift voucher will be taxable only when the value is exceeding 5,000 rupees. And valuation of rent-free accommodation. Students, in this slide, let me tell you, obligation of the employee discharged by the employer is important. This means that any amount which actually the employee was supposed to pay, but it is being paid by the employer. So the meaning of this sentence is that this is important, and valuation of rent-free accommodation, very, very important. Now, what is rent-free accommodation? Accommodation that is given by the employer to the employee free of cost to stay in.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, we yes.
Ma'am, Padmaja and Vani are waiting, ma'am. So let them in.
I have accepted them. Just a second. Yeah, there's automatic entry for the students who are attending my lecture every day. Only if there is some student who has never attended my lecture and is attending for the first time, then he requires my permission.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so we were here, valuation of rent-free accommodation. So you all know what is rent-free accommodation. Now, when the employer is giving the accommodation which is unfurnished. Now, by unfurnished, I mean there is no furniture in that particular house. So where the accommodation is provided by the government to its employees, then what is the value that you're going to take is license fee determined by the government. This will never come in the exam because it is such simple. There is no working at all required. The second part is very important, where the accommodation is provided by any other employer. It may be semi-government, private employer. Now, if that accommodation is owned by the employer is actually owning that accommodation, then the taxability will depend upon the population limit. Okay. Next, if the accommodation is taken on the lease, then whatever lease amount the employer is paying, or 15% of salary, whichever is lower, will be the accommodation taxable rent-free accommodation. Suppose if the accommodation is furnished, then what is going to be the value of taxable rent-free accommodation? It is going to be value as per unfurnished accommodation as per this calculation, plus 10% cost of the furniture. When you have to use 10% cost of the furniture, when the furniture is owned by the employer. But suppose if the employer is taking the furniture on hire or rent, then you have to take actual hire charges paid. If you add this to this, you will get taxable rent-free accommodation. Very, very important. Again, while solving the problems, I will come back to this slide. Next is perquisites. I have not given you all the revision of perquisite exempt in case of all the employees, because there is no working required. There is no need to understand anything, because simple thing, because if it is exempt, obviously you will take nil amount in the outer column. So let us see only where working is required. I'm revising that part. Perquisite taxable in the hands of specified employees: sweeper, gardener, watchman, or personal attendant. Remember, for all these, it is the actual expenditure that is incurred by the employer. Okay, and if anything the employer is receiving from the employee, any nominal charges, that has to be deducted. Now, in this, most important is sweeper, gardener, watchman, personal attendant, gas, electricity, and motor car. Motor car is very, very, very important, students, from exam point of view. So let us see how to value the motor car. So if the motor car is owned by the employer, expenses also are met by the employer relating to that motor car. If it is used for only office use, that car is used by the employee only for office use, then you have to not take. It is nil. That is, it is exempt. Next, if it is partly used for private purpose and partly used for office purpose, then your taxability will depend upon the engine capacity, cubic capacity of the engine. If it is up to 1.6 liters, then 1,800 per month you have to take. Above 1.6 liters, 2,400 per month. And if driver is provided, 900 per month should be added to this value. Per month means you have to multiply with the number of months the employee is given the car for use. If the employee is given the car to be used for 7 months, you have to multiply it with 7. If it is given for 1 full year, multiply it with the 12. So that information will be provided in the exam. Next, similarly, if employee is owning the car, but the employer is meeting the expenses, then whatever is the actual expenditure incurred by the employer, that has to be reduced by the amount by the calculation of this above 1. That is, you have to remove this calculation up to 1.6 liters and above 1.6 liters calculation and deduct the actual expenditure that is incurred by the employer. And where the car is owned by the employer and expenses are met by the employee, then it is, the calculation has to be done as per the provision that you all can see here. Okay, very important is, suppose if the car is completely used for private purpose. Suppose if the employer is giving a car to the employee which is 100% used for private purpose, that I have not covered here. That means that time what happens is, note, if car is used only for personal purpose, taxable value of car facility means whatever expenditure is relating to, actual expenditure relating to the car that is borne by the employer will be the taxable value of car facility. So remember students, if the car is used 100% for private purpose, then what is going to be the taxable value? Actual expenditure incurred by the employer in relation to that car will be the taxable value. So let us now go to the problems on perquisites and understand how to apply each and every provision that we have gone through. Okay, students, pay 100% attention, study the provision while we are solving the problem itself, because again I will be taking you all back to the slide as and when required. So please pay attention, study the provision here itself. Okay, let us start with the problem number 1. Mr. Chauhan has the following salary structure. He has a basic salary of 5,000 per month. He has an education allowance of 500 per month. He has 3 children. Fees 5,000 per annum. Students, in exam it is very important you all pay attention to whether it is PM or whether it is PA. If it is PM, you have to multiply it with 12. It is PA, you have to take the figure as it is. Next, professional tax of the employee was paid by the employer, which is 2,000 for the year. Entertainment allowance is 1,000 per month. DA, that is dearness allowance, is 3,000 per month. Bonus is 10,000 per annum. He has been provided with a rent-free accommodation in Mumbai. So Mr. Chauhan has been given a rent-free accommodation in Mumbai. 60% of DA only forms for retirement benefit. So how much is forming part of retirement benefit? Only 60%. Here what they're telling is, compute taxable value of accommodation in the hands of Mr. Chauhan in the following cases. The employer owns such accommodation. Whatever rent-free accommodation is given, the employer is owning that accommodation, or the employer has taken the accommodation at a rent of rupees 900, okay, and 900 per month, and he is giving it as a rent-free accommodation to Mr. Chauhan in Mumbai. So is the question understood by everyone? So here they are just telling us to compute the taxable value of accommodation. Now let us quickly go to the rent-free accommodation part. Okay, students. Now, Where the accommodation is provided by any other employee, that is what we have to see, because here it is not specified whether the employer is government or non-government. So we assume it to be a non-government, because if it was government employer, it would be have specifically mentioned. So it is a non-government employee. First is if accommodation is owned by the employer. For that, what is the taxable value? It depends upon the city. Now, tell me, students, actually the population of the city will be given in exam, but metro city, usually a Mumbai like city, has a population of more than 25 lakhs. City like Mumbai, because it is a metro city, it has a population of more than 25 lakhs. So tell me, students, where cities are having population more than 25 lakhs, what is going to be the taxable value of rent-free accommodation? The taxable value of rent-free accommodation is going to be 15% of salary. Now, what is salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation? So as I have already told you in the last lecture, salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation is your basic salary, commission, DA, bonus, allowances, everything, all the monetary benefits, excluding perquisites. So remember, salary includes everything, whatever is taxable, but excluding perquisites. Okay, so now let us do the solution. Taxable value of rent-free accommodation for the assessment year 1920. First situation is the employer owns such accommodation. If it is owned by the employer, you have to take 15% of salary. That is what our provision says, because Mumbai like city is obviously going to have a population more than 25 lakhs. And for other cities where we are not aware, in the problem they will specify the limit of population, so you need not worry. So city having population more than 25 lakhs is 15% of salary minus anything recovered from employee. So here in the problem, it is not given that anything is recovered from employees. So we take 15% of salary. Now what is salary? I told you salary means everything excluding perquisites. So let us first see this working. So see here the working. Salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation will be basic salary. Okay, here your basic salary is 5,000 per month. So for the complete year, how much it will be? 5,000 into 12. So you have 60,000. Second you have is, we'll take a DA or bonus. You can take in any, but see, I'll tell you, entertainment allowance, education allowance, dearness allowance, this all are coming under which heading? The heading of allowances. So first we'll complete bonus and fees, and then we'll take allowance. See, you can take it in any order, but this is the most preferred order. So bonus is how much? 10,000 per annum. So you're just directly going to take 10,000. You're not going to multiply with number of months, because it is given for the complete year. Next is 5,000 per annum. This also you're going to take it for the complete year. Next comes allowances. So in allowances, we have three: entertainment allowance, dearness allowance, and education allowance. So let us see. You have dearness allowance. Now, dearness allowance is how much? Students, 3,000 per month. So 3,000 into 12 is how much? 36,000. But only 60% of DA forms part of retirement benefit. So 36,000 into 60% is how much? 21,600. That is the reason we have taken here 21,600, because salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation means everything exception perquisites and DA only which forms part of retirement benefit. Next is entertainment allowance. Entertainment allowance is 100% taxable. So what is entertainment allowance? 1,000 per month. So for 12 months it will be for the 12 months it will be 1,000 into 12, which is 12,000. Education allowance. Now, how much is education allowance given here? 500 per month for 3 children. For 3 children, the company is giving 500 per month as education allowance. Now, I want to know from you all that education allowance is 100% taxable or partially taxable? Should
Ma'am,
I take
partially
500 into
taxable.
12 completely, or should I minus the exemption?
Ma'am, minus the exemption.
Very good. So what is the exemption given for education allowance?
Ma'am, 100 per month per child up to maximum of 2 children, ma'am.
Very good. So see here, education allowance is how much? 500. How much is given? 500 into 12. So total education allowance given for 3 children is 6,000 rupees. So we have written here 6,000. Now what is the exemption? You're going to minus the exemption. What is the exemption? 100 into 12 into 2. Why we are doing 100 into 12 into 2? Because 100 rupees exemption is given for 2 children, up to 2 children, maximum of 2 children. So when you do 100 into 2, because for 2 children, into 12, so you get 2,400. This is the exemption. So 6,000 minus 2,400 will give you 3,600. So when you add all these three allowances, you have to take the total in the outer column. You get 37,200. So what is the gross taxable salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation? It is 60,000 plus 10,000 plus 5,000 and plus 37,200, which is nothing but 1,12,200. Now, you all will tell me, madam, why you did not take professional tax? Because professional tax is usually to be paid by the employee. It is paid by the employer. And what did I tell you in the explanation of perquisites? That any expense which actually the employee is supposed to pay, but it is paid by the employer, means it is a perquisite, correct? And salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation will include everything exception perquisites. That is why we did not take professional tax in the calculation. So I've written here note, professional tax paid on behalf of the employee is a perquisite, hence the same should not be included in the salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation. So what is the salary? 1,12,200. So if we are supposed to find out the taxable value of rent-free accommodation, if it is owned by the employer, it is 15% of salary. So 15% into 1,12,200 is 16,830. So the taxable perquisite in case of first situation is 16,830. They are telling us also calculate if the accommodation is taken on lease, hire or rent by the employer. So in that situation, what is the taxable value? Lower of lease rental payable or 15% of salary, whichever is less. So 15% of salary or actual rent paid by the employer, whichever is less. Now, what is a rent that is actually paid by the employer for that? Here it is given that the rent that the employer is paying is rupees 900 per month. It is per month, students. So 900 into 12, that is 10,800, or 15% of salary. Salary already we know for rent-free accommodation, we have calculated in the working note. So 15% of 1,12,200 is nothing but 16,830, which is lower in these two. In this two, 10,800 is lower. So in first situation where the employer owns the accommodation, the taxable value of perquisite that you will take in the outer column is 16,830. And in case where the employer is taking it on hire and giving it to the employee, the taxable value is 10,800. Have you all understood the first sum, student? Have you all understood the sum based on the provision here? Suppose the population is less than 25 lakhs and more than 10 lakhs, then you have to take 10% of salary as the taxable perquisite. And in any other city, 7.5% of salary. The rest all remains the same. Now, why we did not consider this furniture? Because no information about furniture is given here. So if nothing is mentioned about furniture, obviously it is an unfurnished house. So students, have you all understood the problem number 1? If yes, we can move ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone got it? Yes, students,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
be asking you questions. Okay. Okay. Now this suppose in the same problem, okay, where the population of that particular city, suppose it is just an example, in the same problem, if the population of the city was 14 lakh 60,000, and you had to calculate the taxable value of perquisite if the employer is owning the accommodation or is taking on it on hire. So what will be the change? So where the population is, what they're telling, 14 lakh 60,000. So 14 lakh 60,000 is falling somewhere between 10 lakhs and 25 lakhs, correct? So here you have to take taxability as 10% of salary, but in case of lease, it remains the same irrespective of the population. So what is going to change? Only instead of writing 15% of salary, we will take 10% of salary, since the population limit is changed. Okay, and if it is taken on higher, it remains the same, 15% of salary or actual rent paid by the employer, whichever is lower. So remember students, only if it is owned by the employer, then you need to check the population for knowing whether it is 15%, 10%, or 7.5% of salary. So everyone, I hope you all have understood the calculation of unfurnished house, because this provision I will be asking you all before we conclude the lecture. So once again, quickly, where the accommodation is owned by the employer is owning the accommodation and it is giving to the employee, then you have to check the population. Based on the population, your taxability is going to be decided. And if it is taken on lease, it is flat 15% of salary minus actual lease rent payable, whichever is lower, and it is not going to change irrespective whatever is the population. Next, problem number 2. Here I have taken a problem where there is a furniture involved. So Shri Ashutosh has been provided with a furnished accommodation in a city having population of 14 lakhs as per the last census. Municipal value of the house that is owned by the employer is 80,000, whereas the fair market rent of the house is 1 lakh. His salary details are as below. So students, is the municipal value, fair market rent of the house, is it important in a calculation of perquisites? No, because in our provision nowhere we have come across these words, so it is not important. What is important when accommodation is given is to know what is the population of the city. The salary details are as under. Basic salary is 25,000 per month. Allowance for increased cost of living. What is the other name for this, students? When I was explaining allowances, I told you all allowance which is given for increased cost of living is also called as dearness allowance, because dearness allowance is an allowance given for the increased cost of living. Next, education allowance is 3,000 per month. He has one son and 2 married daughters, so totally for 3. Okay, next is furniture details are as under. So furniture details are as under, where some furnitures are owned by the employer, hired by the employer, and some furniture is actually the employer is owning. So TV is given to the employee, but that TV is actually taken on hire by the employer. Hire means rental basis, 2,000 per month. Refrigerator is given where it is owned by the employer, 10,000. Washing machine is given, owned by the employer, 5,000. Any other furniture that is given is 1,000 is per month is owned hired by the employer, and 20,000 of the other furniture is actually owned by the employer. So calculate the gross taxable salary of Shri Ashutosh. So we know that the basic salary will come, dearness allowance will come, children education allowance will come, and rent free accommodation will come. When we add all the four, we get gross taxable salary. Okay, so let us start. So here they are not telling us calculate the taxable perquisite. Here they're telling us calculate the gross taxable salary. So we know how to start with computation of gross taxable salary of Shri Ashutosh for the assessment year 1920. Basic salary. Now basic salary, as you all know, is 100% taxable. So what is the basic salary? 25,000 per month. When you multiply 25,000 into 12, you get 3 lakh. So we have written it in the outer column. Next, dearness allowance. This is nothing but other name for dearness allowances that is given for increased cost of living, which is 5,000 per month. Now 5,000 per month means nothing but 5,000 into 12, which is 60,000. Next is children education allowance is 3,000 per month. So 3,000 into 12 is how much? 36,000. But can we take the complete 36,000 in the outer column? Answer is no, because exemption is given for children education allowance, and exemption is nothing but rupees 100 per child up to 2 children per month. So I have taken at 100 into 2 into 12. So 2,400 is the exemption. So from 36,000, when you minus 2,400, you will get 33,600. Next, we have taken all the elements what the employee is receiving. Next is also receiving rent-free accommodation. Correct? Now, how to calculate the value of unfurnished house and the value of furniture together? If we add, we get the taxable rent-free accommodation. Okay. So students, come to the look at the right hand side. If it is a furnished house, so you have to take the value as per unfurnished accommodation, and value as per unfurnished accommodation is calculated using this provision, plus if the furniture is owned by the employer, you have to take 10% per annum of the cost of furniture. But if the furniture is actually taken on rent, then you have to take actual higher charges paid. So depending upon the furniture, you have to take the calculation. So here, value of accommodation, we will see working note number 1, and for value of furniture, we will see working note number 2. Now, students, first you have to calculate the value of unfurnished accommodation. Now I am going to ask you people how to calculate the value of unfurnished accommodation. So can you all tell me, if the furniture is owned by the employer, okay, and the population is 14 lakhs, what is going to be the value of unfurnished accommodation? Students, this question I'm asking you all. If the furniture is owned by the employer, number 1. Number 2, if the population is 14 lakhs, what is going to be the value of unfurnished accommodation?
10% of
Ma'am,
salary.
10% of salary.
10% of.
Very good. And salary for the purpose of rent-free accommodation, what all is included? Salary you are telling.
Is
Basic salary, ma'am. Dearness
Everything
allowances.
exception
Everything, ma'am.
perquisite.
Perquisites, ma'am.
Whatever is perquisite value, you should leave that, and everything exception perquisite. Very good, students. So let us see salary for the valuation of rent-free accommodation. So basic salary, you're going to take 3 lakhs, dearness allowance 60,000, education allowance 33,600. You're going to add all these three, and since the population is 14 lakhs, which is less than 25 lakhs, so what is the provision telling? That if the population is between 10 lakhs and 25 lakhs, you have to take 10% of salary. So 10% of salary is how much? 3,93,600. So value of unfurnished house is how much? 39,360. Correct? And here what they're telling, furnished, since in the problem it is given furnished house, so first you have to calculate value as per unfurnished accommodation. So first we will write unfurnished accommodation 39,360 we have written here. To that we have to add the value of furniture. Now very interesting, we have to add the value of furniture. Now tell me, students, if any furniture is taken on hire, what is the taxable value of that furniture? if it is taken on hire by the employer, then you have to take actual hire charges paid by the employer. So in case of TV, you have actually how much the employer is paying the hire charges, 2,000 per annum. It is not per month, per annum. So directly 2,000. Now, first we'll complete the hire part, then we'll see the owned part. Next is other furniture is 1,000 per month is taken on hire by the employer. So what is the taxability in case the employer is taking the furniture on hire? Actual hire charges paid by the employer. What is the actual hire charges paid? 1,000 per month. So what is going to be the taxability? 12,000 into 12, that is 12,000. Okay. Next year they're telling is 10% of cost of furniture if furniture is owned by the employer. So here refrigerator, washing machine and other furniture is owned by the employer. So what you have to take 10% of all this, then you will, when you add the hire and the owned amount, you will get the value of furniture. Let us see the working note number 2. So students, see here how you have to present it. Valuation of taxable perquisite for furniture. TV is how much? 2,000. 2,000 you are directly taking because it is taken on hire. So whenever it is taken on hire, you're going to take the actual hire charges, which is 2,000. Next, refrigerator, it is taken, it is owned by the employer, and the cost of refrigerator in the question is 10,000. So always you have to take 10% of the actual cost as taxable value. So 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. Washing machine, is it taken on hire or is it owned? It is owned by the employer, and when it is owned by the employer, taxability will be 10% of the cost. So 10% of 5,000 is 500. Next, other furniture. Other furniture, 1,000 was taken on hire per month, and remaining 20,000 was owned by the employer. So 1,000 into 12, 12,000, and which is owned by the employer is 20,000 is the cost. 10% of that you get 2,000. So 2,000 plus 12,000 is 14,000. So total taxable value of furniture is how much? 17,500. That is what we are going to take here, 17,500. So what is the value of rent-free accommodation? Value of unfurnished house plus the value of furniture. When you add this both, you get 56,860. And when you add all the benefits that are given to the employee, you get gross taxable salary. You are not going to minus the deductions because here they are asking you gross taxable salary, calculation of gross taxable salary. That is the reason you are going to conclude your answer here. So students, have you all understood the rent-free accommodation? The sum on rent-free accommodation, where we covered provision relating to unfurnished house as well as furnished house. Yes or no, students? Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
And relating to this municipal value, fair rent value, all this is not required because nowhere in income from the head salaries we have come across these words. Nowhere it is required to be applied. It is just given to confuse you all. That's it. Have you all understood, students? Yes, everyone has understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, we will see valuation of motor car. Remember, students, last 5 minutes I'm going to take up on valuation of rent-free accommodation and motor car because both are very, very important from exam point of view. Okay. So in case of motor car, let us see the sum first and then we'll revise the provision. Sonam has been provided a car which is having how much cubic capacity? 1.7 liter by his employer Vikas Limited. The cost of the car to the employer was 3,50,000. Maintenance cost is also incurred by the employer, which is 30,000 per annum. Chauffeur salary, that is driver salary, is also provided by the employer, which is 3,000 per month. Find the value of perquisite for Sonam for the assessment year 1920 if the car is used for office purpose, if the car is used for personal purpose, and if the car is used for both office as well as personal purpose. And in case of B and C, employee, like they're recovering some amount from employee, which is 15,000 per annum for giving such facility. So here they are also taking some recovery in relation to the car facility from the employee, which is 15,000 per annum. So have you all understood the question? Okay. Now let me tell you all that this, as soon as you will get a problem relating to this, you should understand it is a perquisite, because something is given, some benefit is given to the employee. Second thing is, in perquisites you have three elements to be checked. First, car belongs to the employer, and expenses also are borne by the employer. You have a separate provision for that. So see here that the car is owned by the employer, expenses is met by the employer. So we have to pay concentration on the first part of provision to be applied. So yes, so first they are telling if it is used completely for office purpose. So what is the provision saying? If the situation is this and it is completely used for office purpose, it is not taxable. No value means it is exempt, nil. The taxable value of perquisite is going to be nil. So let us see a solution. Value of perquisite in case first case is office purpose is nil, as the car is used for office purpose. Have everyone understood this first part? Yes, students, quick.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Have you all understood? Yes. Okay. The second part, if it is used for personal purpose, 100% personal purpose it is used. So see here, I told you all in the note that if the car is used wholly for personal purpose, then taxable value of car facility will be the expenses actually incurred by the employer. Whatever expenses the employer is actually incurring, that is going to be the value of perquisite. So see here, personal purpose is equals to taxable value of car facility, which is 86,000. Now how did we derive at this? Check the working note number 1, so which I have done here. So what I have told you, when it is used 100% for personal purpose, the value is going to be the actual expenditure incurred by the employer. So first, employer is incurring the maintenance cost. See here, students, employer is incurring the maintenance cost of how much? 30,000 per annum. He is incurring also the driver expenses of 3,000 per month, and the cost of the vehicle is 3,50,000. And you know, every asset has to depreciation has to be applied yearly, because depreciation is applied yearly. And for car, the depreciation is 10%. Remember this, students, car carries a depreciation of 10%. So what are the expenses incurred by the, and obviously depreciation is going to be claimed by the owner. Now the owner is the employer, so employer is going to bear that expense. So depreciation of the car is 10% of 3,50,000, which is 35,000. Maintenance cost actually that is incurred is 30,000. Driver salary is actually the driver salary is 3,000 per month, but you have to multiply it with 12, so it's 36,000. So what is the total expenditure that is incurred by the employer is how much? 1,01,000. Now they are from 1,01,000, they are recovering some amount from the employee. See here, in case B and C, employee is charged 15,000 per annum. So they are recovering from the employee 15,000. So what is the net amount that is incurred by the employer? That is 86,000 when you minus. So that is why 86,000 is the value of taxable perquisites in case the car is used completely for personal purpose. Again, I'm revising, if the car is used 100% for personal purpose, then the value of taxable perquisite will be the actual expenditures that is incurred by the employer minus anything which is recovered by the employee. So the net expenditure incurred by the employer. Next, both the purposes. Now, if it is both the purpose, that is partly personal use means partly is for office use, then your calculation will depend upon the engine capacity. Now tell me, students, what is the engine capacity here? 1.7 liters. Now, so 1.7 is above 1.6 liters, right? 1.7 comes above 1.6 liters. So what is the perquisite value we have to take? 2,400 per month. So see here, 2,400 per month, correct? So how much it is? 2,400 into 12. How much it is? 28,800. Is the driver provided in the question? Yes. Driver also is provided. So if chauffeur is provided, it is, you have to add to that value 900 per month. So 2,400 per month plus 900 per month. So that is how much? 3,300 per month. So 3,300 into 12 is how much? 39,600. So the taxable perquisite in case the car is used for both office and personal uses, 39,600. Now, whenever these are statutory limits, right? These are fixed by the law, fixed by the act. Provision says you have to take 2,400 only, 900 only. We cannot question that. So since they are statutory limit, that time, whenever you're taking statutory limit, you should not minus this 15,000 that is recovered from the employee. So I've written in the note, whenever statutory value, either it can be 1,800, 2,400, 600 or 900, depending upon the CC engine capacity is taken as taxable value of perquisite, then amount charged from the employee shall not be subtracted. Is this clear, students? Is the provision of motor car clear to you people? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Is problem number 3 clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Students, problem number 4 also is relating to the same provision. Since we are falling short of time, what I will do is I will take a unique provision. See, problem number 4 also is relating to car, motor car. Problem number 5 also is relating to motor car. I will deal it with in later. Now we'll go to such a problem where a different provision has to be applied of perquisite. Problem number 6 also is relating to motor car. We will go to problem number 7, which is not relating to motor car. So that in this particular lecture, we have covered different provisions of perquisites. Okay, Shri Bhagwan has been, I have skipped those problems because we have already revised those provisions, and we are falling short of time, but I will come back to those problems in my next class. Let me just solve the unique problems first. Okay, so Shri Bhagwan has been provided with the following servants by his employer. Employer is providing, employer is taking the care of the expenses. Remember, students, here it is clearly given by his employer. Okay, servant is what? Watchman, cook, paid servant, sweeper. Now, who has appointed them? Watchman is appointed by the employer. Appointed means obligation is of the employer because employer has given it. So employer. Cook is been appointed by employee's wife, not employer's wife, employee's wife. Maid servant is given by the employer. Sweeper is given by the employee. Salary of the servant is per month it is given. Shri Bhagwan has also been provided a rent-free accommodation which is owned by the employer. Find the taxable value of servant facility. Now they are telling taxable value of servant facility if he is a specified employee. If he is a specified employee and if he is a non-specified employee. Students, we know that there are certain perquisites which are taxable only in case of specified employee and they are not taxable in case of non-specified employee. Now in case of specified employee, is watchman taxable? Yes. Is cook covered? Yes. Is maid servant covered? Yes. Sweeper covered? Yes. Just to quickly give you all a revision, see your students. Perquisites taxable only in the hands of specified employees. You have provision of sweeper, gardener, watchman, gas, electricity, all this. So what is going to be the value of perquisite? Actual cost of employer to the employer, okay, minus amount paid by the employee. Is this clear? So here the entire expenditure is incurred by the employer because by his employer is given. So quickly we'll see the case A first. So in case A, watchman 24,000. Just multiply all these amounts by 12, you will get the amount. So watchman 24,000 taxable because it is a specified employee. And in case of specified employee, all the provisions that is given in respect of sweeper, helper, watchman, gardener, everything is taxable. Cook 36,000 completely taxable. Maid servant 12,000 completely taxable. Sweeper 6,000 completely taxable. So what is the taxable amount in case A? case of specified employee in respect of servant facility 78,000. So is the A part understood? Students, is the A part understood if he's a specified employee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now
Yes,
the
ma'am.
B part is what? He is a non-specified employee. Non-specified employee means any other employee. Now, in case of any other employee, students tell me whether watchman, cook, servant, sweeper, if it is given by the employer, is it taxable? Is it taxable? No, because see, we have seen perquisite taxable in case of all the employees. Here, nowhere we have that sweeper, helper, gardener. It is only in case of specified employee. Correct? Okay. But let us see. Watchman. Now, watchman is appointed by the employer. Means employer wanted to give the watchman, and the expenses also is borne by the employer. So, and is it covered in the provision that it will be taxable in case of any other employee? No. That is the reason it is nil. Next, cook. Cook is appointed by the employer. Is employer appointing the cook? No. Actually, employee's wife is appointing the cook. So who has to bear the expenses? If wife is appointing the cook, wife has to bear the expenses, or the employee has to bear the expenses. But his expenses are borne by the employer. So see your students, obligation of the employee discharged by the employer. You have to see the appointment. Actually, who had to pay the money? The employee had to pay the money, but employer is paying it. Therefore, perquisite is taxable in case of all the employees. So cook, case B, obligation of the employees discharged by the employer, because appointment is not done by the employer. If employer was doing the appointment, it would have been nil. But is the employer doing the appointment? Employee's wife is doing. If wife is doing some appointment of some servant, then she has to pay the money, or her husband has to pay the money. So here, who is paying the money? Employer. So it is the obligation of the employee discharged by the employer. Therefore, it is taxable in case of non-specified employee also. Next, maid servant. Now, maid servant who appointed? Employer appointed, and employer only is paying the money. So here, there is no obligation of the employee, because employer appointed, employer is paying the money, and maid servant is not taxable in case of non-specified employee. Therefore, we have taken it as nil. Next, sweeper. Sweeper who is appointing? Employee. And who is paying the money of that? Employer. So it is the obligation, actually employee should pay the money. So it is the obligation of the employee which is met by the employer, and which is taxable in case of all other employees. Therefore, sweeper also 6,000 is taxable in case B. And then when you add 36,000 plus 6,000, you get 42,000. Have you all understood the case B, students? See, in case B, it is taxable in case of all employees, which means non-specified employees. So obligation of the employee discharged by the employer is covered. Therefore, I have taken cook and sweeper here. Rest others will be nil, because it is appointed by, given by the employer, and money also is paid by the employer. Have you all understood this problem, student? Have you all understood case B? Students, have you all understood case B? Suppose here, if everything would have been employer, okay, appointed by the employer, then here everything would be nil. Because if employer is appointing something for employee, then employer only has to pay money for that. But here, since employee is appointing, then it is employee's duty to pay the money. Have you all understood this sum?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we have seen provision on taxability in case of all the employees. Okay. Exempt situations I have not taken, because obviously no working is required directly. You have to take 100% nil in the outer column. And we have seen motor car, which is very important. Now the remaining three sums on motor car, which is there, I will deal it in the next class, students. Unique problems I have covered. Okay. Now I want you all to quickly tell me the different provisions on the questions that I asked based on the valuation of motor car. Okay. So ready for this? I'll ask only 3 questions. That's it. Okay. Suppose it is a rent-free accommodation where the accommodation is unfurnished. Just try to remember which provision you'll have to use. If the accommodation is unfurnished and the employer is taking that accommodation on rent, what is the value of taxable perquisite? Have you all understood the question? If it is a rent-free accommodation given by the employer to the employee, okay, and it is unfurnished, and that accommodation is not belonging to the employer, he is taking it on lease and then taking it on hire, rental or lease, and then giving it to the employee to stay, what is going to be the taxable perquisite?
Actual rental.
Least of the following, ma'am. In that
Lower.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me actual.
Lease rental paid or payable by the employer, or 15% of salary, whichever is less, is to be considered, ma'am.
Or 15% of salary, whichever is
Less.
Very good. Now tell me, if he's also giving furniture and that furniture is actually belonging to the employer, that furniture employer is owning and then giving it to the employee for use, what is going to be the cost of furniture that you're going to, like, what is going to be the value of taxable furniture that you're going to take?
Ma'am, value as per unfurnished house plus 10% cost of furniture, ma'am.
Very good. And if the same furniture is taken on hire?
Ma'am, only actual charges, ma'am.
That the employer is paying, that is actual hire charges. Very good, Yashaswini. Okay, next two more questions. In case of motor car, if the motor car is used 100% for office use, what is going to be the value of taxable perquisite? If the employer is giving a motor car which is used 100% for office use, what is going to be the value of taxable perquisite?
Nil, ma'am.
Students?
No.
Nil, ma'am.
Very good. It's going to be nil. Suppose it is used 100% for private purpose. Then what is going to be the value of taxable perquisites? Yes, students? Quick, students. What is going to be the value of taxable perquisites?
First, we need to check CC of the car, ma'am.
I couldn't hear. There was some disturbance. Yeah.
We need to check the CC of the car, ma'am.
No, CC of the car has to be checked when it is used both for private use and personal use. I'm telling, my question is, if it is used 100% for private use.
Actual amount, yeah,
actual expenditure incurred by the employer on that car. Okay. That includes maintenance cost, driver's salary, and depreciation. Don't forget to take depreciation, and depreciation on the car is always 10% on the cost. Okay. Okay, one last question once again. If there is any obligation of the employer, of the employee, if any obligation of the employee, actually employee has to pay the money, but if it is paid by the employer, is it taxable or no? Obligation of the employee has to incur certain expenses, but employer has paid the money. So is that money that is paid by the employer, should it be taxable under the head income from salaries?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Everyone agrees? Okay. Why? Because simple logic, it is an obligation of the employee which is being paid by the employer. That is the reason you have to take it under income from head salaries. Okay, students. Thank you so much.